Hello, good morning, Lagos, and thank you very much for joining us this morning inside of Freshly Pressed 981. You must have heard from friends how very important this show is. That's because we give you detailed analysis of our newspaper stories every single morning. Today, Thursday, the 24th of January 2019, the stories are juicy. Lagos. This is Smooth 98.1. We're joined on Freshly Pressed 91 this morning by Fumio Dude, and you can find her on social media at the same name at Fumio Dude. Good morning, Fumi.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us today. And Lagos, join the conversation. Send your observations and comments regarding the stories that we'll be treating this morning through WhatsApp on 0809
4440981. Also, please use the hashtag freshlypress981 so we can track your tweets as the show progresses on Smooth 91 FM.
All right, we'll start with our first set of stories.
On our first set of stories this morning, I'll keep there's a big one, but I'll keep it a bit later.
Yes.
The third one. Now, VAT will be increased in 2019, says Finance Minister, as federal government introduces new revenue initiative. This is from The Punch. Now, the federal government yesterday introduced a strategic revenue growth initiative to generate more revenues to finance national development. This is the Minister of Finance, Mr. Zainab Ahmed, saying at the official inauguration of the initiative in Abuja, and that the aim was to harmonize efforts of all the revenue-generating agencies in increasing government coffers. Now, for me, we had quite a discussion this morning on Business Express with Brutus with this, and of course, as you would expect, many people reacted to this story. What's your take on this?
Okay, so this is not particularly new. I know right from 2017, Kenya Adelson, the former Minister of Finance, had already indicated that there were moves to increase VAT on luxury items like champagne and all of that. And there's always a comparison with other countries. True, we have one of the lowest VAT rates in the world. We're
5%.
looking at 5%. We're looking at the rates of some other countries, and so it's not particularly a new move like that. But the important thing is whether they would get the support. Like the Minister of Finance rightly said, they would need to go to the National Assembly to get an amendment of the current laws to increase it. Increasing revenue through tax, I think, should be two-pronged. We're always looking at increasing rates, but I find it difficult to say that we are not generating enough because of the rate as much as because of the enforcement. We still have one of the lowest forms of enforcement in the world. Tax enforcement in Nigeria, tax compliance in Nigeria is very, very low. And it is, I think that is one of the key areas. There's always this argument about I pay my tax, but I still run my life myself. I know the argument, and so that's one of the reasons. But it is still a duty to pay tax, and I think we should look a lot into that as well. And in this same initiative, we have Babatunde Fowler, the chairman of FRS, coming up with initiatives on what he intends to do about that. He says the service plans to collaborate with deposit money banks to get names of companies and individuals with funds in excess of 1 billion and ensure that appropriate tax is collected. I'm not sure it's a very creative idea, because seriously, as far as I'm concerned, it's actually a lazy move. Deposit money banks they should have, in some certain areas, a level of privacy. Their customers should be able to enjoy some level of privacy with respect to their funds. There are already a lot of reporting obligations on them. I mean, if you visit any bank, you already see pasted that if you deposit a certain amount, you're obligated to report to certain security agencies for the purpose of checking corruption, drug money, and terrorism, and all of that. But for tax purposes, every registered company has a regulatory agency that we all register to the CAC. We have obligations in filing returns. We have government institutions need to come together and begin to collaborate on how to. So before we go on putting burden on consumers and residents more, I think we should focus on enforcement a bit. We might get to the point where we will need to, but we can't, as a country, we can't say this is how much we generate in tax when we don't let's get the figure. If we properly implement our tax laws, this is how much we could have gotten. If not, you'll end up increasing, and it's still the few compliant people that will suffer.
It's only a few people paying for those who continue not to comply. Just to give you a comparative analysis, in other countries with regards to the VAT rate, in Egypt it's 14%, Ghana has 15%, South Africa 14%, the highest being Hungary 27%. So very correct right there, saying that 5% in Nigeria is quite one of the lowest comparatively. I moved away from that story to our next one, taken from the New Telegraph, and that is that INEC may disqualify 1 presidential candidate, 3 vice presidential candidates, and 40 others. The Independent National Electoral Commission may disqualify 43 candidates for failing to meet the minimum age requirements specified in the 1999 Constitution as amended for candidates seeking elective offices.
Well, I'm not sure that's the major news. The part of the news that I like is, I think for the first time we're getting very nice statistics from INEC. So here Lagos are the statistics of your candidates. From 17 presidential candidates are within the age bracket of between 35 and 45, 27 are between 46 and 55, and 20 between 56 and 65. Then we have 7 candidates that are above 65 years. The vice presidential, somehow we always focus on that and leave out vice presidential and senatorial and House of Representatives candidates. Vice presidential, 34 candidates are between the age group of 35 and 45, 19 between 46 and 45, 14 between 56 and 65, and 2 above 65 years old. Now, the senatorial candidates, 621 senatorial candidates are between 30 and 40 years, which is the highest, which is a big good. 527 candidates between 41 and 50 years, and 497 candidates are between 51 and 60, while 222 candidates are above 60 years old. For the House of Representatives, 1,262 candidates are between 25 and 35. The highest is between 36 and 45, which is 1,603 candidates. 1,524 candidates are between 46 and 60, while 187 candidates are above 60 years old. So, in the age of not too young to run, the statistics are not particularly encouraging.
However,
Yes.
I mean, we've seen quite an improvement, 17, particularly for the presidential elections, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, there's been an improvement. I think this period was the mobilization period. I suspect that in years to come, in subsequent elections, it's possible that our 2 main contenders will not even be between the age brackets that we currently have. So yes, this is the period where the awareness is, we're pushing for it at this time. So yes, and like I said, we tend to focus more on the big elections and forget the local ones. Actually, especially for a lot of House of Assembly, there's been, in this election, there's actually been a push for the younger candidates, and we've actually seen that across, and it's good because those are our mates, those are people that we can hold accountable much more than we hold the current people accountable. So yes, young people, let's get into politics. I should ask which of you are members of political parties.
I should ask you when you're going to run for me. Lagos, if you're just joining us, this is Freshly Pressed 91 from Smooth 98.1 as a part of Smooth Breakfast with Kaide Baker.
I am my essay.
I see you're missing her. And of course, that answers your question, Queen. Thank you very much for bringing that to my notice. Ian here sends in a message. It says, instead of our VAT going up, how about slashing the huge allowances that people up there earn without giving any value for their earnings? We've also checked these other countries you're using to encourage us with, and it's not only their tax rates that are higher, the executives at the top also do not earn as much as our folks. It's a valid point there. Now let's treat the big meat in the studio right now.
Yes, this is the big one that came in this morning. Breaking news, Oby Ezekwesili withdraws from presidential race. Now, reports reaching us say that Oby Ezekwesili, the presidential candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, has withdrawn from the February 16 presidential election. Now, this is coming in from Premium Times. Big story right there for me.
Big story. Unfortunately, we don't have, because it broke this morning, so
Yes.
we don't have enough details. But from what we have, she withdrew because she wanted to form a coalition to defeat both the APC and the PDP. Is it too late in the day?
Well,
Looking at how long we have,
It's a few weeks to the
short,
election.
short period of time. When you say a few weeks, sounds like 10,
a few
12
days.
weeks.
Days, more or less.
Now, don't forget, following the presidential debate, that
yes.
the two main, what had arguably the two main, unarguably the two main candidates refused to, or didn't turn up. People had said that the debate went so well, like a very intelligent candidate, and to defeat or to challenge the status quo, they should form a coalition. Do you think this is in response to the call of the masses?
Possibly, it's possible, but let's go back a bit to the fact that this was something that they had intended to do. The pact that all the smaller ones that said will come together, whoever wins would stand out as a flag bearer. And so there was the issue with that, and they were dissatisfied with who came out as a flag bearer, and each decided to go their own way. It's good in the sense that it's sacrificial on her part, but I'm looking at the period of time in which it was done. If they had considered it and held up to their part of the bargain at that time, we've campaigned, the campaign has gone on for how long now? They've mobilized forces at the grassroots. It would have been, a bit more. Now, the people that, the demographics that they have split amongst themselves, how, with this news, how easy is it for all of them to come back together behind one candidate? And this is just one, actually.
One person.
Are we expecting to hear another person drop and go behind? It's a big sacrificial step on our part. It's whether it's too late in the day that is the issue.
Sacrificial, certainly, like you mentioned, but also following the debate as well, some people had mentioned not to forget that during the packed election, she was actually the referee, as it seems, and so people questioned her choice or her reason for running shortly after being a referee at such,
That's
an election.
the BBOG, the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, you mean?
No, the
the
consensus candidate.
Yes.
So she was actually like the referee, and then a month afterwards, she declared her intention to run, which took a lot of people by surprise as to, if you knew you were going to run, why were you part of the process?
Well, she could have done it. I'm not speaking for her, but she could have done it looking at the fact that the past exercise failed anyways.
All right, so we have messages here. Thank you very much for clearing that up for me. Adebayo says, we have a lot of issues when it comes to tax generation, reacting to the tax issue. As much as I do not support tax, because I feel like if the relevant authorities do enough to capture 70% of the taxable persons, we would have the adequate revenues we need. Companies are overtaxed already. People are burdened. In my company, we pay CIT, WHT, VAT, CGT, NCD, and some other taxes is named here. Just us alone, and I can tell you our tax people are corrupt. The liability of 1 billion is assessed. They ask you to bring 200 million to reduce it to 100 million. The tax man is as corrupt as others. I'm in that industry, I know. Thank you very much, Adebayo. And then we move on to reactions of Oby Ezekwesili's dropout, or stepping down really to form a coalition. Diallo from Aja says, Oby Ezekwesili's ambition was dead on arrival. I knew she was, no disparaging words here. Thank you, Diali. I wrote to that Trevor Noah's laptop. He sent this one. It says, Ezekwesili confirmed stepping down on her Twitter page, but it's too late in the game. None of the third force candidates are competitive in the north anyway. They should aim for 2023. And then we have messages as you're listening to Smooth 98.1, and this is Freshly Pressed 91. Ladipo says, seek for better tax coverage, not increasing taxes. Let's move on to this more cheering news. It's a story from Tribune newspapers, and we saw this. And when I saw this, I had a huge smile, lighting up my face, because the conversation that we started sometime. I say we because I moderated the first international conference on disabilities in 2012, 2014 precisely. And at that time, there was a call for the law to be passed, but Apparently, this is greeting us on the pages of our newspapers. President Muhammadu Buhari has assented to the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. It says it prohibits all forms of discrimination on the grounds of disability, imposes a fine of 1 million naira for corporate bodies and 100,000 naira for individuals, or a term of 6 months imprisonment for violation, concurrently as it guarantees rights to maintain a civil action for damage by persons injured against any defaulter, which includes private establishments, government bodies who do not make provisions for accessibility in some sense, to such
like you said,
institutions.
very, very good news.
Yes.
And particularly because, and I think it's a privilege issue, there are some issues that doesn't bother us because we're not involved. I think there was on social media a while back, a lady that called out a certain bank on social media because of access into their banking laws. And for the life of me, I never thought about it before. If I was going to complain about a banking law, it would have been the least thing on my mind. So there's this thing. It's glad that it's finally become law. And the basic thing about passing laws in Nigeria is enforcement.
Yes.
Enforcement. There's a lot of very nice provisions apart from discrimination, apart from providing for penalty for discrimination. It also provides in respect of public structures, even criminalizing the approval of any public building that does not conform.
Well, that's the challenge for
enforcement,
me.
right?
Not enforcement, financing it. Now, during President Obasanjo's administration, he refused to sign the bill because he said it was too expensive to actualize. How will they fund this? Because the terms of the bill are very stringent. The buildings have to. How many state or federal buildings are accessible, and how much would we require to? I mean, great law, but it's also talking about the issue of financing. We're talking about the taxes now to generate more revenue for the nation, and now we're looking at funding a project that I don't know if they put enough thought into.
No, so this is it. The Act provides for a 5-year transitional period for public buildings to comply, and now any subsequent direction of a public building should now conform. It's something that is important. If public buildings have to modify their structures to give accessibility to this class of people, then we should. It's protection of a minority group of people, and it's very important. And I think the 5-year transitional period in which they're supposed to do that is enough time. Is enough time for them to. So I mean, we talk about we're still going to talk about subsidy later in the show, but when we talk about how we spend our money, shouldn't protection of the citizens be a key priority in what we're spending money on?
Consideration for the rights of those who are living with disabilities, seeing that Lagos State passed the disability law in 2010, and the call for its enforcement has still been repeatedly been asked for for subsequent years later.
And that is the key issue, enforcement. This for the law to make impact in the lives of people, I think it's the citizens themselves that must take it away from the pages of paper in a law book somewhere and deliberately ask for it.
All right. Thank you very much. Now that we're talking about money and the implementation, Daily Times has this story. The Federal Allocation Committee, that's FAAC, they said, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics actually revealed this, that the Federal Account Allocation Committee in 2 years disbursed a total of 5.57 trillion naira to the federal government and 16.65 trillion naira to states. They broke it down to explain how they arrived at these amounts, where they came from refunds from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and all that. But take us through the story for me and the relevance of it.
Okay, I think that's the major thing, the relevance of it, because there are a lot of figures and all of that. And I know that accountability and transparency is something that we've always spoken about in this country. And kudos to the National Bureau of Statistics for doing this. So anybody that is truly interested in how the money is spent can look at these figures, can look at can go to the budget website, look at our budget, and then whether you can now follow up to track and measure. People like Jetta and his company can follow up to track if they put this particular project as what it was expected of,
Yes.
then we can go forward to track the implementation of it. So yes, the relevance is beautiful. The relevance is also beautiful for comparison's sake. So let's look at it. For instance, we have the states that are allocated the highest allocation. Akwa Ibom and Rivers State in the 2 years under review received the highest allocation of over 400 billion and over almost 400 billion respectively. Osun and Ekiti State received the least allocation. You also have to remember that Akwa Ibom and Rivers fall within the 13, they would also receive the 13% reduction fund and all of that. So it's, like I said, in respect of the statistics for the elections, we focus a lot on the federal. I think it's time we also, even concerning the budget, how many of us, we're always interested in what the federal, the executive arm of government has going to present to the National Assembly.
Yes.
How many of us follow the budget presentations of our states, of the different states? And we forget that these people also get a huge part of the allocation. And so what are they doing with the state? One of the reasons that I think Nigeria is where it is because we've not localized governance enough. Governance has to be local. If I have a problem, Abuja is too far to directly deal with it. So I think we should begin, as much as we don't completely shift focus off the federal and all of that, we should begin to hold our state and local governments accountable. It's very
Thank you.
important.
Bless you for that. Bless you for that. Akintola from Alagomeji sent in this message on WhatsApp, says, reordering our choice of priorities will go a long way to promote sanity in Nigeria. It shouldn't be made against the law for youngsters to run for office, for elective office. He says, children are our future. Everything depends on our developmental process. It's a matter of youthful exuberance and experience. Now, Ezekwesili is trying to champion a cause in a chauvinistic society, and so kudos from Surulere says, this is my worry with most Nigerian politicians. Mrs. Oby and the other candidates are aware that they cannot win the election due to lack of political structure. One would have expected her and others to populate the National Assembly where quality laws and inputs from national development are lacking. Now see how she has wasted that opportunity of qualitative representation at the National Assembly. Everyone just wants to eye the presidency. The Nigerian political atmosphere is not ripe to accommodate political... use the unsavory word.
Can I respond to that? That is true, but that is also part of our fault. If I mean, don't let me attack the next person. Let me ask myself: do I know all the candidates running for House of Representatives and senatorial positions in my senatorial district? We focus so much on that we don't even bother with them. We never ask them questions. We never so much as call them to sort of like debates or anything. We don't even know them.
Who do exactly?
So
how
at
many
the end
of
of
them
the
do
day, exactly. So at the end of the day, when you get to your polling booth, the same party you voted for this one, you vote the same party for without even knowing who the candidate is.
Which is why some members of the Senate just fly over the radar or not under the radar without necessarily being, held accountable. But one person who's been called into question, and some other person as well, is in this story from Punch newspaper: 254 million naira bribe. Omokore, Senator Bassey challenged court jurisdiction. So Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo of the Lagos State Special Offences Court has fixed February 20 for ruling on whether the court has the jurisdiction to try the suit filed by the EFCC against the 7th senator. Now, in essence, he's representing Akwa Ibom Northeast Albert Bassey. He was alleged to have mismanaged funds and received a bribe of 12 cars, said to be worth over 254 million naira during his tenure, as the state's commissioner for finance. That was in 2014, between 2007 and 2014. But take us through this, Bumi.
Okay, so I can't comment on whether the objection will be sustainable or not. The court is sub judice.
Yes.
But I will say this: the charges that, like you said, he took a bribe of 12 cars worth 254 million naira. Well, when it was a Akwa Ibom State Commission of Finance, and what his lawyers are saying is that this charge should not have been brought in Lagos State because the offense took place in Akwa Ibom State. That is the simple fact of it. But when I think about why the EFCC, and it all goes back to the fact that we need to focus a little bit on our states. When I think about the fact why the EFCC will want to bring it to the court in Lagos State, that is because that is where they can use the criminal law of Lagos State. I've compared the criminal law of Lagos State to that of a lot of states. I haven't done with Akwa Ibom State, but there are a lot of offences that, and and that's why the EFCC will law Lagos State. There are a lot of offences relating to taking of bribes by public officers that is surprisingly even missing from our federal laws, from the EFCC Act and from other criminal codes and all of that. Lagos State has very, very extensive criminal laws covering bribery of taking of bribes and accepting bribes as public officers.
Yes.
And so it will be so, and that goes back to focusing on our houses of assemblies, our states. We don't care what these people do, we don't know what the laws are. And it's the bit of the challenge that security agencies might face. Look at, for instance,
yes.
a lot of, right now we have a lot of federal judges being prosecuted in High Court of Lagos State, because that's where the criminal law of Lagos State can be used, and it's also because of how wide that criminal law is in respect of corruption, bribery and corruption.
Thank you very much, Fumi. Let's go back to your messages here on Twitter. We have messages pouring in, and Yokunle Ogun sent in this message. It says 90% of this public buildings, as still speaking to the disability law, said 90% of this public buildings already have access to the facility. It says, I'm an architect and I've done research on this. All right, so keep your messages coming in here as well. Queen sent this one on WhatsApp. It says, Madam Oby's move is not just a response to outcry for a coalition, it's also an acceptance of truth to herself that it will work. All right, let's move on.
This next story comes from the New Telegraph. It says here, federal government's 2.4 billion daily fuel subsidy fraudulent, and this is coming from President of the Senate, Dr. Saraki. He's accusing President Muhammadu Buhari's administration of perpetuating fraud in its handling of subsidy on petroleum products, and they're alleging that it's 2.4 billion being used to subsidize fuel in Nigeria daily. What are your thoughts about this?
I think it's that we are still in subsidy in this administration is amazing is not the word. It's actually very disappointing. And as well, the same problem we had then is the same problem we have with it now. The lack of transparency of it, the lack of so we all know that it's being paid now. The argument as to whether we pay or we don't pay now give us the figures. Let's know, and that is the issue. The Senate president has said that they've been looking into it. He's set up a committee to look into it, but he's meeting loopholes with the executive who don't want to release the figures. There's also the issue of where does the federal government get the money from?
Exactly.
It's not budgeted.
And he's also claiming that they should have sought for appropriation from the...
Yes, well, yes. He has a point there, but the response, there's been a response. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream has disagreed with Saraki on the issue. He said, no, we don't spend 2.4 billion to subsidize for daily. Instead, we spend wages between 25 to 35 million naira per day. And that is still ridiculous. But the part 9 in Lagos that you should note of is he says that it's been taken from the running cost of the NNPC. And that is why it goes to accountability and transparency issues, and that's why you have when you have the president and also the Minister of Petroleum. I mean, it's all about accountability and transparency.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Let's quickly take messages and see how much we can exhaust before the end of the show. This one's from Bolaji from Akoka. Says this VAT increase is just to collect back whatever increase in worker salaries they made. Well, Sam sent in this one.
Says young people are not running because of funding constraints, we don't need not young to run. We need a cap on campaign spend for all candidates. That will level the bar.
And Ayomide said, I might sleep at night thinking of voting for one person and wake up in the morning with a different candidate entirely. I really don't think it's that late. Ike says, should we classify public buildings to be on structures of government agencies and also include that of private agencies used by the public?
That's a very good question.
Yes.
All right. Adebayo here says Saraki should stop whining. He's the Senate president. Let him investigate the matter. Everybody's engaged in public shaming without taking action. And he finally comes in here to say, it is fair to state we need to be more concerned about those representing us in the House of Representatives and Senate rather than who's president, because he cannot allocate funds. Secondly, increasing the tax rates would not increase the judicial use of funds to development, rather more loot. Anyway, we'll have more questions to ask, and we'll encourage you to join us on Lagos Talks 981 at 9 o'clock, because one person who's running for House of Representatives position in Lagos State will be here to answer your questions. All right. In the meantime, a special happy birthday to one of our analysts. His name is Justin EJ. He's
Happy birthday,
Happy
Justin.
birthday,
birthday to you.
Justin.
Happy birthday.
If you're listening, please, and then if you know his Twitter handle, please wish him a happy birthday at Justin EJ. That's his handle. Lagos. Coming up next, you join us, Coyote Baker,
And
I
of
am
course,
Myra Essay.
and myself, Valentine.
Valentine Ohu.
Next, as we go through the entertainment stories, and of course, Chef Jeff will be here, Jim Silas will be here, and Sheishe possibly will be here, and Good Girl LA will be here as well. Lagos. Good morning.
I invest where money never sleeps.